Alright, and we are off. This is real. This is happening. I'm not even making this up this time. Not even fake gamer hype. So we got this Group F matchup here. We got WJ. We got BP. I'm always nervous to say. Some people say wjstie. I don't think I'm going to say that all the time. It's almost impossible to say. I think this isn't confirmed or anything, but the origin story in my head behind WJ's name is that he just picked as many letters that would be hard to pronounce in a row and just kind of rolled with it. Perhaps doesn't like being referred to at all. So, be referring to him as WJ as I always do. Keeping it simple on myself. Just rolling through Cap Kingdom here. Okay. BP going for some interesting strategies here as we pull the switch. WJ pulling ahead with a tiny little lead. Nothing to really speak of at this point. I think Frog Room is probably one of the most important rooms in the speedrun, as you do get to control a frog, which is very poggers. Big fan of frogs. They're cute. Kind of slimy, but, I mean, if you ever picked up a frog, I mean, it depends on the kind of frog. I've never really picked up a bullfrog, so I can't really confirm that, but like tree frogs, they're pretty cool. BP having just a little bit of a spaghetti falling all across the topper arena here as we are pulling out of Cap Kingdom. Quite a few seconds behind WJ, which isn't that huge of a deal, but considering the fact that WJ has a 1 minute less, or I suppose slower PB, it's kind of a big deal here. Alright, BP heading into the first moon here. Of course, we cannot skip it, unfortunately, anymore in SMO speedrunning. The loading times in 1.3 just way too OP. So no more FMS, no more Sphinx Clip. No more fun. Only speedrun. Thank you, Melon. Worth mentioning here that we will be pulling over to Speedrun 2 for the first time in many, many moons. As we have some live content coming from our partners over at Whirl Games Xanadu. I'm not sure the exact words. There's so many different words used to describe their arena, but they're running some sort of fighting game events and they're doing some speedrunning exhibitions. So we're going to be posting that on this channel. We're going to be doing some SMO over on Speedrun 2. Almost said Speed Gaming 2. Monka S, don't fire me. Promise I'll be good. You see, I have never and will never want to change commentary midway through a comms session. Someone is literally like in an emergency situation and has to leave. Also, please, if you can like say stuff like that in the Discord, that'd be awesome too. But yeah, either way, both players here knocking out Madam Brutal. Gonna be grabbing this multi-moon. Setting off to finish off the rest of this kingdom. Only one more moon to grab. Of course, could see there's a chest clip moon or the top of the little craggy cliffs there. See what happens. You are curious of either of these runners' splits or anything like that. Check out our way too in-depth stat sheet. You can see pretty much everything, including bracket information, all live on there. You can also use SMOA or SMOB in the chat in order to see the just bracket information on challenges. BP having a little bit of errors there with the chest clip, but have to give him props for going forward at the very least. It's very poggers. Difficult strategy, but does save just a tiny bit of time, so more optimal runners, the lower PBs you get. We'll start seeing that a little bit more. Alright, so we got both of our runners rolling into Sand Kingdom here. Of course, having to talk to Cappy. Skipping that action guide. We don't got to learn how to play the game. These runners, I think they know the controls by now. They've played the game a couple times. Maybe like 5 or 6 attempts on each side. At least. So we'll see what happens as we roll into Sand Kingdom. A lot more route variations opening up here. Guessing we're going to see pretty similar routes. I don't think BP goes for reverse town. I don't think WJI does either, so see what happens. Of course, DSTA going to be done by both. Saw that earlier on as they were changing their daylight savings time information in the main menu before starting up. A little bit surprised that it's not more of a deterrent for runners having to set up that time clock. I feel like that would be super annoying. I go for like Omega beginner sand route, so I don't even do DSTA, but I would imagine it's not a fun time having to change your system settings every time you want to reset a run. What this player's doing, very similar stuff here. Going to be collecting the employees only moon. We have already collected the Church Moon and the Burb. Just rolling over to the dune here before we head in some more difficult strategies. Got to go for Bullet Bill Dram. Some players can have issues with the Icicle Jump as well. We'll see how that treats both of them. Chat informing me that BP is actually 45 minutes ahead. Might have to research that on the stat sheet, as BP is having some troubles with that Icicle Jump, as we were alluding to before, and WJ taking a lead here. Just a little bit of cleaner movement. One bonk can be the difference maker, as WJ lost a bit of time at the beginning of the kingdom, but just a little bit of back and forth so far. Wow, 6 whole years. It's amazing how much time passes when you're playing SMO. Time really flies when you're having fun, I guess. As WJ getting a little bit of ledge grabs, but BP breaking the wrong box. So a little bit of a tit for tat when it comes to the mistakes here. WJ trying to toss that cat back and grab the bullet bill as well as BP. We'll see how that works out for both of them. Looks like a success. See if they're able to get this moon. No issues. And I've seen a quite surprising amount of runners messing up that pillar moon in this tournament. Runners you wouldn't quite expect. Runners with really low sub 110 times, or even, I'm not sure if we've seen anybody with a sub hour fail that, but it's just shocking to see people mess that. It's 100% just like race nerves if that does happen. I can't imagine that happens to people very often in their PB attempts. It's not by any stretch of the imagination a hard trick, unless you're going for like single bill or something like that, but oh man, Sly Freak, you didn't have to expose yourself like that, buddy. Nobody would have known. I mean, we all would have watched your PB, of course, and figured out eventually. So I'm sure everybody just loves to go back and watch VODs of random all moons PB submissions. I know that's me on a regular Friday night. What they call content, I think. I'm all about that content. Yeah, maybe we can get some sort of applause for Sly Freak 1 in chat. Sub 8 All Moons Runner Sly Freak 1. Very impressive gamer. It's WJ opening up that warp menu a little bit too early. Wasn't on the ground. You can, of course, not warp out of the air. So having to open up the menu again does lose a surprising amount of time. You know, when you're just starting out, things like that don't matter so much. But at this level, opening up the menu a couple extra times does add up over time. Whoa, crazy. We got both WJ and BP. That's another good reason to call WJ WJ in this race, is that BP is BP, so we gotta have WJ. Only 2 letters allowed in names. No bread boy, that is a curse message, and yeah, if I wasn't so busy staring at SMO, I would definitely have to time out that message, but you're lucky I'm busy and preoccupied right now. Alright, so heading into Lake Kingdom here. Let's see if either runner opts to go for the Lake Clip route. Of course, going for Rango, going to be a little bit more consistent. Both players fairly capable of doing that Lake Clip route. I would hope so, at least. I mean, you don't get a sub 1 hour skipping over Lake Clip, I would imagine. Could look at the stat sheet, but that would be cheating as WJ opts to just roll on by, which could be a good strategy, but BP getting it first try here practically. Getting that hat right out of bounds. You're going to be grabbing the chest as well as the checkpoint up above. So we're going to grab this moon, warp on up, collect some extra moons pretty quickly as WJ does nail Dilly P skip, which is a nice little benefit there. Really smooth moves there from WJ though on the Rangar route, so not going to be losing too much time. Does have to watch a little bit of cutscenes coming up, which will... It might look like, you know, WJ's not losing time really to this route, but once you see how long it takes to collect all these cutscenes, it's going to really start to add up. Rangar's got to die super slow, and then we got to go collect the moon and watch it fly down from the sky, and BP just gets to warp right back to the Odyssey, so... Does have to talk to an NPC. Which is obviously a bit of a slower moon, but not a huge deal, as the famous Collins video game would say. It is not my birthday. You'll know when it's my birthday because I'll be really sad and complaining that I'm old, and then people will be like, oh, you're not even 30 yet, and I'm like, yeah. Sucks you have to say that. Yo, shoutouts to Ganon playing Breath of the Wild, not playing SMO. Good on them for taking a break. Perhaps secretly learning Breath of the Wild 100%? Question mark. Expose live on Speedrun. You see Matt say they're just warming up. They're warming up. They're doing some wind bombs. Just getting a little bit of practice in. You would say that, Sly. But enough about the future racers. This race is going on right now. We're out of the cutscenes. It's time to see what Wooded will bring us here, as we're going to be smashing a rock into a bunny's face. We're not very kind here in the Mario universe. We like to smash rocks into rabbits. We like to possess humans. A little bit of questionable morals in this video game, but... Both WJ and BP having a little bit of troubles with these beginning moons. As BP does retake the lead here. WJ with this freaking all-stars cast on the friends list right now. We got Ganon, we got Hey There. Who else is gonna pop up on WJ's friend list? Like, who has WJ added as a friend on Switch and wants to get a shout out here on the stream? Very important. Almost as important as this nut clip coming up for BP. WJ right behind him needs to nail this nut clip. Does in fact get the out of bounds. WJ as well. So both players not losing time to the optimal route here. Is WJ taking a bit of a bonk, but manages to stay in bounds. Not going to be too huge of a deal. Does retain that bit of a deficit as BP's having some trouble with the ramp. That'll be a nice little boost for WJ. I always love to see that little spin dip through the nut there. I'm not even sure what to call it, but it's very beautiful, very powerful. As BP has a little bit of troubles collecting this nut moon and will be losing the lead yet again. So was that 3 or 4 lead changes so far already in this race as BP just taking bonks here and there, missing rollouts. Perhaps just forgetting the time of the race start. Really not doing too well for BP, unfortunately. I mean, you can't chalk it all up to that, but I could certainly see how not being able to warm up could potentially affect your racing ability. One thing to talk about, though, however, is that BP did eat an omelet before this race. So BP might not have been warming up, but did fill up his belly with some tasty breakfast foods. I'm not sure how that affects gameplay, but you gotta stay energized if you're gonna speed race. Yeah, I believe there is some sort of Genshin item that gives you a lot of some sort of positive status effects, so maybe maybe that's the kind of omelet he was eating, but yeah, just neck and neck here. Both runners just trading blows all throughout this wooded kingdom. Undoubtedly going to see 2 spiritless here. This tower can give runners quite a bit of trouble. Not usually there, though. Kind of a shocking bonk there from BP as he's heading up here to the top. WJ, of course, taking another lead. See that little troublesome ship looming over the battlefield there, but we're just gonna, of course, skip over that. We don't really care. Soul Factory can just burn to the ground for all we care. We gotta save Princess Peach, and that is not the fastest road to do it. So we're gonna go ahead and grab this nut around the corner. Oh man, BP just can't stop taking these bonks. Really rough. And yeah, Nightbot shouting out the subscription button. I gotta agree. I mean, if you subscribe to Speedrun right now, I do believe that makes you a powerful gamer absolutely instantly. 100% effective at changing your life and your gameplay. May or may not be true. Not sure. Haven't done the clinical research studies yet, but initial testing could indicate. Got a little bit of smack talk in the chat. Monka S. Man, I love this new audio plugin. It's so fantastic. It makes everything so much easier, except for when it just completely breaks and makes it so I can't use OBS. It's the one downside, the one problem. If it weren't for that slightly catastrophic problem, it would be perfect. So we are pulling out of the Wooded Kingdom here. Of course, we do have to fight Bowser now. For some reason, once we beat him, we send him right on top of his ship, so he just gets to fly away. Probably a tactical error on Mario's fault, but we'll let it slide as both players make their way over the cloud gap there fairly easily, which is nice to see. I know for me, it's a pretty hefty obstacle still. When you're going for something around a 110, anything lower than that, it's still a little bit of a troublesome time as BP snagging that cloud hint art, so gonna be saving a very slight amount of time there. Grabbing the Cloud hint art here saves time over grabbing the Luigi hint art in Metro. So, just a little bit of slight optimizations. That's the kind of stuff you need if you're going for that sub-hour. Yeah, I didn't even see what the chat is talking about right now. I was completely oblivious. Any way you can fix the frame rate problem? I think that is on your end. Unless anybody else can confirm there is a frame rate problem, I would love to fix it. Got WJ nailing the meme tree, taking a bonk on the rock, but not a huge deal. As BP taking a straight up dive into the poison jam. That is not where we want to be, clearly, as BP's going to have to be sent all the way back to the Odyssey. But luckily, right next to where we died. But of course, any time loss is bad time loss. But I wouldn't count BP out, especially even in just this kingdom. We could definitely see some errors here from WJ. Gotten past the butterfly gauntlet there, so that won't be an issue. But you can see runners, especially near the end of the level here, have some troubles, take some unnecessary deaths before the final moon, and even just that would be enough to bring BP back here, as this is a very close game or battle. So we see WJ here opting to just go for the cage moon without any sort of triple jump going on. Very interesting stuff. But clean movement to grab the moon under the bridge, so can't fault him. Comfy, good movement. Nothing wrong with it. More importantly, we didn't die, as BP opts to go for the triple jump, but has fallen all the way down. Needs to do some backups, but doesn't get too carried away. Doesn't try to go too fast, and we have survived the ordeal, so that's what's important here. As taking a death there would be really rough. Oh, no. Okay. Well, I mean... Oh, okay. Well... okay. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. Definitely a Monkasteer moment. WJ widening the lead here. Night Metro notorious for causing problems for runners of all skill levels. Even things as simple as the awning jump can be a bit of a troublesome time. We'll have to see what happens, as Split's looking a little bit strange in the, okay, there we go. I think we're manually updating is what's happening here. So WJ right now with a 25-second or so lead, widening that gap quite a bit. But as I was saying before, anything can really happen in this stage. We'll see if that holds true, as WJ going for some interesting movement here. Looks like Goomba heck movement, but not next to the Goomba. BP with some pretty swag awning jump strats. Does collect the sandwich moon with no big issues. Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if BP pulls off strats like this. Very slick movement. Oh wow, okay, yeah, just continuing to show that he does know the Mario moves. Sometimes it might not look like he's got it all calm, cool, and collected, but BP knows what he's doing. Has in fact figured out the button mappings. Alright, so second cycle right now for WJ, not looking super clean, having some troubles. Are we far back enough to get these last 2 shots off? I don't know. Whew. Okay, that was close. A little bit too close for comfort. WJ does wrap up the 2 cycle, but not the fastest I've ever seen. And BP getting a very nice pattern. Plenty far back. Doesn't dodge the fireball, but that's all good. We had a quite better second phase there for BP. Gonna be saving a bit of time. BP a little bit unsatisfied with that not Metro gold, but gotta be alright with tying your gold in a race. I think that's a good time as WJ grabbing the wire a little bit early, luckily not heading all the way down to the bottom before being able to reverse the mistake. Does grab the moon. It's always a bad time when you see runners heading to the bottom of the wire right at the beginning of night metro, or day metro, excuse me. It's WJ rudely blocking that man's RC car there. BP seems to be closing the gap just a little bit here as we do... Okay, as I say that, have a little bit of problems. But we'll see what happens with the routing here. There can be some route variations. I'm not entirely certain if BP is going to be going for that bullet building route. But it does save a few seconds. So we'll see. A couple more bonks like that, and WJ's lead is going to disappear pretty quickly. Is WJ going to be going for that musicians route? Musicians. Sheesh. So BP will be going for the bullet building route. We'll see if it pays off. So far, so good, as we have succeeded at the slots moon without having to do some extra cap throw shenanigans. But the worst of it is yet to come, as this room has some pretty tricky movement. Being able to capture the bullet bill with the up throw is a bit tricky. We'll see how things go. BP making it look easy, grabbing the bullet bill. Definitely making up some time here, so we'll see how that plays into things. I think if all goes well for WJ, he's still going to be about 10 seconds ahead exiting day metro, but now that I say that, I mean, it's not that big of a difference. Yeah, I mean, it's like 3 or 4 seconds at this point, so scratch what I said. Too many mistakes for WJ. We'll see what happens. Only a couple moons left to collect here. We gotta climb this tower, grabbing moon above the pool, and then the people's room, of course. Alright, Chai, better be nice to Sly Freak. If you're not nice to Sly Freak, I'm gonna get angry. You won't like me when I'm angry. I don't get all green and grow a bunch of muscles, but I do have a hammer. Hammers are pretty spooky. WJ opting to go for the cap bounce there, as BP going for some reverse movement here in the people's room. Very interesting stuff. I looked over after looking at WJ's screen for a second. I thought we messed up, but unfortunately, not able to grab that moon before it disappears. So going to have to re-grab the switch, not saving any time here. And that's going to be significant time loss for our friend BP. In the reverse peepholes room. Yes, very true. No, I said not to be mean to Sly Freak, not to be mean to Sly Freak. Come on. Come on, gamers. Come on. I was looking over at the stat sheet to see what the difference is, and all I get met by is value. So I'm officially ignoring the stat sheet for the rest of the run. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm scared. Someone needs to hold my hand. WJ here, of course, grabbing the shop moon later on in the kingdom. We don't need it quite yet. Gonna go ahead and rob Captain Toad, grab a couple moons, and head on through the rest of the kingdom. Would be very surprised to see anything but the same thing from PP, as that was an interesting strategy there. Knock out all of the boxes so you have nothing to wall jump on. A little bit weird. See if we see any Spiny Manip out of WJ here. Spiny Manip's one of those things that's like, I feel like you don't even like go for it. It's just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it's all good. BP getting the clip out of bounds, but unfortunately missing the loading zone. And that's not a time save, believe it or not. You hate to see that. Just a little bit behind the door frame. WJ going for some standard strats here in the Goomba room. No ICCs this time, which is good to see. You never like to see runners melting down to ICC. That's, at least I don't. It's not my particular interest. It's a bit of a do or die situation for WJ, so if he wins this matchup, he's going to be 1-2 in his group. But if he does lose, then it's 100% that he cannot advance. I mean, you cannot advance with 0 wins. There's a lot of different theory crafting we can do to make it so people with 1 and 2 can win, but if you are 0 and 3 in your group, it is not looking good. So we'll see how the Snowdram goes. With WJ already having some issues here getting up to the top of the Odyssey, but that's not the thing we're worried about. If we fall down here, it does lose quite a bit of time, but WJ... Oh my goodness, I was gonna say doesn't have any sort of problem, but... Faster than I can say that, we are at the bottom of this ravine. So we'll see if that gives BP enough time to catch up here. He's taking another pretty fierce bonk. And all of a sudden the lead isn't so large. Of course, does still have a shop moon and a little bit of warp potential lead here, but Yeah, that definitely was a nice little opening for BP. BP definitely needed something like that in order to stay relevant in this matchup. Gotta love the words of encouragement from the chat, the positive vibes. I heard that if you bring up some sort of copy pasta for your racer, it actually powers them up. There was also give NRG in the chat. It's a very important one. BP snags that first try Snowdram. Definitely saving quite a bit of time there. Although did have some troubles earlier on the Kingdom, of course, taking that death on Snow Clip. Not optimal by any stretch of the imagination. BP's saying he's in the zone, so you'd love to see that. Do love to see it. Alright, so Seaside Kingdom here for both players now as WJ having a couple moon lead already in the Kingdom, but nothing that's not surmountable, nothing a little Wilco clippage couldn't help out. Spam this B to help BP is getting just absolutely spammed in the chat. I can't even see any other messages. There's so much support right now, overwhelming for BP. This is crazy. I can't believe it. Chat's going wild. We can't control it. The moderators, they need to step up. We need to do something about this crazy amount of spam. Oh, BP, no, that's the opposite of what this copy pasta is supposed to accomplish. It's WJ skipping over fish dip. You hate to see it, but I mean, if you're in the lead here, definitely haven't practiced it. I mean, it's less of a if you're in the lead or not, more of a if you've practiced it kind of thing. It's quite literally asleep. What do we pay these gamers for? I don't get it. Salaries are all getting slashed. Alright, so WJ, of course, holding on to that lead here. BP going for a pretty quick fish clip lineup, but not nabbing it. A little bit too quick, unfortunately. We'll be grabbing it this time. Just these minor errors here or there that are just adding up for BP. Of course, the death in snow is pretty cataclysmic, but not honestly the end of the world, as we are pulling up to some pretty difficult kingdoms. We got Luncheon coming up. We have a Ruined Kingdom, the most difficult kingdom in the game. You're asking, hey, they're cool at least. And of course, Bowser's Kingdom, a little bit difficult. A little bit of difficulty there. We'll see how the players handle the tail end of the run. So hopefully BP has collected a little bit of energy from the bees in the chat. There's a lot of them. WJ collecting that first Salt Moon pretty clean here. You love to see that. Can be a definite issue for a lot of runners, any skill level. I was a little bit scared of that lineup there for BP, but he made it look like it was an easy peasy jump. Definitely not easy, although, okay, now that I say that, not making it look so easy on the backswing. But you need just enough height there to be able to clear that wall. The game doesn't particularly want you to be up there quite yet, but speedrunners, they know no bounds. Is BP gonna go for spiritless here, so... Oh, no. Oh, gosh. Alright, okay, That's rough. That's painful. You know, you make a decision like that, you're like, alright, I'm gonna go for it, I'm going for spiritless. Oh no. That almost looked like he decided halfway through he wasn't gonna go for it. What is going on here? BP, relax. Alright. I haven't even seen what's going on WJ's screen for the last like 25 seconds, because I've just been completely preoccupied with BP right now. Does nail the first segment of spiritless movement here. But arguably not the hardest portion, as we do have a couple more interesting routing necessities now that we've skipped past Spirit. Of course, we gotta collect some more moons. One of those being slots. Just saying, let this be the comeback of the century. Very clever. Very good stuff. I believe. I'm still a firm believer. You're in the chat room and you're doubting BP right now. I don't know what's got into you. Perhaps you've not been around long enough. Perhaps you don't understand the Mario moves. BP still has the potential to come back here. There's a few moons behind here, so the positioning in the level can be a bit deceiving. Almost said a bit defeating. Can be a bit defeating as well, as BP taking some booty burns. Pepto-Bismol, a little bit too hot and spicy. WJ with a really clean fork stream there. Gonna be a hard act to follow. Okay. A little bit scary on that last jump. You bonk there. It's a very, very long fall. Probably gonna meet your death as well. I think you can potentially save it there, but it's hard to say. As WJ is able to use his Podobo here to clear the Pepto-Bismol gap. BP's not gonna have that luxury. We're gonna have to do some Podobo-less movement. As the creatures will not spawn when you don't defeat Spirit. But nails it pretty easily. Of course, going to be collecting another golden turnip here. Part of those routing differences from skipping over Spirit. I have absolutely no clue, but this is looking pretty good. I mean, you know, that turnip not making it into the soup, but other than that, BP playing really, really clean here for the last few moons, which you love to see. It's been having some issues throughout the run. I think that's from previous Mario games? I'm not sure. Mario enemy names are kind of a strange story. I think in Mario 2, they literally, like, misname some of the characters in the credits. It's either Mario 2 or 3. I think it's Mario 2. So who knows, honestly. Nintendo honestly doesn't even know what's going on in their games half the time. Interesting vault there from WJ as he's climbing the final mountain here in the Luncheon Kingdom. Gonna be shaking his meat. Something every Mario gamer in the SMO universe must be exceptional at. Is BP going for the Invisiblocks and taking a burn. Hate to see that. Really rough. Oh no. Taking yet another fall. The Spiritless is not working out for BP, unfortunately. Cannot just go and break those cheese blocks. It is not possible, as there is no Pan Bros around. Does nab it the third time, but at what cost? Truly a setback of the century, as BP here, trailing quite a bit, headed here into the Ruined Kingdom. One of the more interesting parts of Spiritless, I think, is this sub-area. I'm a big fan of the sub-area. I think it's really cool. It's not like some areas where it's just like, there's just a moon here, and you just kind of run over and grab it. Like, you've actually got to do some interesting game mechanic stuff. You're going to be taking out the dragon. BP going to be doing this timer challenge here to close out luncheon, and gotta talk about our friends over at the Urban Arts Partnership a little bit. It is part of the requirements of the Ruined Kingdom is you have to talk about UAP specifically. It doesn't matter if you shout out the racers or the commentators. You can do that if you want, but the Urban Arts Partnership much more important, as they are working very hard around the clock to send all sorts of kids across the United States to school for the arts and game design. Have an on-site learning location called the School of Interactive Arts, where they teach kids hands-on knowledge they need to design their own games. You know, the arts and writing aspects of those games as well, so lots of good stuff going on at UAP. They specifically target minority communities and women, so people that wouldn't necessarily, you know, have the representation in these sort of college courses. Trying to get it more of an even playing field. We appreciate everything they're doing for the community, not only the gaming community at large, but also the speedrunning community specifically. They are putting up the prize pool for the A tournament, as well as the league coming up in January-ish. Can't really say for certain when that's going to be yet, but shooting for January. I would imagine early January, but we'll see what happens. Never want to rush the speedrunning events, you know? It only makes things a little bit shaky. It's not like we're going anywhere. It's not like any of us are going to get, like, lives or hobbies. We're all going to be playing Super Mario for the rest of our lives. We're stuck here. This is our lives now. So here we are, the final threshold here. Bowser's Kingdom has a healthy lead here. It's never safe to let your guard down in Bowser's, especially not when the mech fight is on the table. Yet. I think that's the opposite of how PBs work. You start out on PB pace and then it goes away. You never suddenly become on PB pace. So BP is now wrapping up Ruined Kingdom. Throwing those 3 moons into the Odyssey, which is apparently enough to repair it, although before we've always needed like 10 or so. All of a sudden we only need 3. These are some valuable moons in Ruined Kingdom. They're really powerful. Particularly efficient moons. Yeah, that's very true. WJ could just simply power up to a level even further beyond, and it could be all over. World record could be at hand here. Just have to wait and see. Are there any game-changing strategies under WJ's hat? Interested, you can check all of these things yourself in the stat sheet if you haven't figured that out yet. There is literally all of their splits and the splits they're currently getting in the race live updated on the stat sheet. So if you want to see that information, probably better to check there than to ask the racers who are currently trying to do a speedrun. A little bit of a big ask to ask them to stop the run to chat to you. WJ going for some Harriet action here. Not opting for any first-person strats, but it's not a huge surprise, nor is it a big time loss. But definitely something to note is BP going for some shards here, taking a fierce bonk. And when the bonks are coming from BP, they're definitely chunky ones. Oh, goodness. Bunny's fight has been completed here for WJ. There's just one more obstacle, and it's a big one, but once you get down to a 101, especially a low 101, the mech fight becomes a little bit less intimidating. You generally have your strategies down pretty pat, and I'm guessing we see a fully loaded mech with target acquired, no problem, but we'll see. Nice clean Pokeo wall climb there from WJ. BP does officially knock out Topper, but doors are very, very close to closing around BP right now. WJ has basically one more obstacle left to clear. We haven't seen very many deaths in the escape sequence frequently in recent days. They have happened in the tournament, in various tournaments over the years, but it's not been something you can really count on lately, as Topper has been annihilated there. I believe that trick is called Topper Annihilated. Going for our standard TA setup here. Does nab it, so WJ. Nail's not quite slammed all the way into the coffin at this point, but it is definitely in position. One more stage to go, and WJ is going to be walking home a winner. And a definite needed win here. Definitely not expected, definitely not handed to him for free, but definitely one he needed. He will go up to 1 and 2 in his group, potentially, if all goes well for the rest of this race. That does matter. The points do matter, believe it or not. BP setting up for his own mech fight. Looking alright on the Pokeo wall as well. We have touchdown on the moon here on the side of WJ, so it is very, very close to the end here, folks. There's not much we can do for BP. I'm not even sure if the copy pastas will save us at this point, but if anybody here is around for the Shadow Gato versus Ocarina Drew match, you know that that would be a possibility. Copy pastas do have quite a bit of extra bonus power in Moon, and BP with a very nice target acquired there. That was a very nice ending. Welcome into everyone just joining us here for today's Any Percent matches. We'll have one more match after this. It will be over on Speedrun 2. So there is a bit of a showcase going on the main channel, which you are more than welcome to tune into as well. WJ nailing that Moon Cave skip. Okay. Not quite being able to call that a nail, but definitely not the worst Moon Cave skip I've ever seen. A little bit scary, to say the very least, but we are over it, so. Win losses, BP. Goosable. WJ now battling the evil bosser, who's quite scary. He has a fiery breath. But I think WJ is going to be able to manage, nail all these fast hats, and we'll see if he has a clean rest of the escape sequence, because that's really all that stands between him and a victory today. Tied races are technically possible. It has happened in the history of GSA, but it's extremely unlikely. The event of race is extremely close. We will retime races, but at that point, I mean, we have had races come down in this tournament to a few frames of difference, which is, you know, fractions of a second, but at the end of the day, you can always usually tell there's a little bit of a difference, although it is physically possible, as I said, for it to be a literal frame tie. Get your cat jams out in the chat room. If you post Pep AD, I will ban you personally. Any other jam emojis are allowed, just no Pep ADs. I'm not a Pep AD enabler. We gotta power up WJ for the final battle. I'm not sure why the final battle is against rocks, but Miyamoto works in mysterious ways. WJ, having some troubles with that first pillar. Chat actually avoiding the Pep ADs for once. No, Mulan! Why? Why, Mulan? I thought we were safe. Lip Potato's not in the chat. I thought we were fine, but unfortunately, Mulan, with the Pep AD, gonna ruin the streak. You know what? It's fine. We just can't have nice things here at GSA. It's fine. I'll deal with it. Learn to accept it. WJ wrapping things up with a 102.29. Valiant fight from our opponent BP, but it's too many mistakes, unfortunately. We will be seeing WJ move up to 1 and 2 in the group stages. .102 in a race, nothing to laugh at. Very, very good time. Playing a little over a minute off of PB. Which is very, very commendable. Something that I personally couldn't do with a 116 or something. I actually have a 114. I don't know. I don't know what my PB is. Don't listen to me. But definitely throw some cat jams in the chat. It's round number 2. The jams are unavoidable. The tune is just too good. Everybody remember to ignore Mulan. One final rock to break as we are wrapping up this race here in Group F. Now 104.22 is the final time for BP, finishing a little under 2 minutes off of WJ. Definitely a commendable result from both players. Playing with their hearts. I mean, BP definitely, you could tell throughout the race, had the gusto going into it, but unfortunately unable to keep things together everywhere. WJ gonna be booting up the 51 board game classics. Can we connect 4 before I change the cutscene or the scene? It's a race against the clock. Come on, WJ, you got this. Racing the computer. Oh, nope, looks like BP gonna skip past the cutscene. So, Sag. Alright, we gotta see the results of this Connect 4 game, actually. That's very important. Interviews can wait. Neither racer following the production notes, so we're just gonna have a scuffed little game of Connect 4. That's how it goes here at GSA sometimes. Sometimes the racers don't follow the rules. WJ almost missing. Has to throw a red piece in there immediately, or else that would have been a disaster. We'll see here. Running out of options as the computer making some interesting choices, but WJ not having too many lines, so I'm not really sure the result of this is going to be. WJ, what are the options here? Okay, just going to be covering up some of the yellows. Not sure what that move from the computer was about. Literally seems to be pointless, as it seems to be a timed challenge here. Both players going rapid fire. So I don't think there's going to be a victor. I don't think there's really any option for victory. Might just be a stalemate at this point. Oh, okay, WJ clutching out the victory. Let's go. I doubted him, but absolutely smashing it. So we are going to wrap up this one. We are running out of time for the next matchup, but I do invite both players to come in for a bit of an interview if we are looking to do so. Looks like we have BP in here. BP, how you feeling? Yeah, that about sums it up. I mean, it looked like you were playing with a lot of heart, but unfortunately, you know, just some key errors.
Jump, and then everything else just went wrong in ways that just lose so much time. And that was the real thing. If I had a good luncheon, it would have been a really close race because I had a 7:55. I'm capable of sub 6. If that had gone well, then it would have been within a couple seconds. And then obviously there was plenty of other stuff.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack. WJ coming with a victory on the Connect 4, of course. I mean, how do you feel about that Connect 4 victory? I mean, I guess it was versus a computer, so it wasn't like that impressive, but I mean, that was a pretty rapid victory. How do you feel about your Connect 4?
No disrespect to the computer. Like, jeez.
I don't know, that computer kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. It made some pretty questionable decisions.
It was the beginner computer, but
I mean, he's just starting. Like, gatekeeping? I don't know, man. It's a little...
Yeah, I don't know.
Elitist.
We just need some better Connect 4 players in the community. I don't think that computer is up to snuff, but that's just
True.
But I guess we could talk a little bit about the SMO 80% race. How do you feel about your performance with that?
Oh, me?
Yeah, we already talked.
Sorry, I was listening to the clubhouse music. I think it went all right. Besides the snowdram, it was mostly fine. I'm pretty sure I've gotten mid 102s in all of my races, so I'm a consistency master.
Yeah, that's good to see, for sure.
But yeah.
I definitely think that you played pretty well overall. Didn't go for any super crazy stuff or anything like that, but definitely played pretty good. BP, that snow clip. That snow moon clip.
That was stupid. I literally rolled behind the loading zone. I didn't even know you could do that. Like...
Oh, what?
I rolled behind the loading zone and didn't trigger it and died and out of bounds. So close. And then I died in the blowy Joey room because I was being dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts to see those deaths, but I mean, at least, you know, played through it, didn't throw the race or anything like that, went for all the hard stuff and just wasn't able to pull it back, unfortunately, but...
I really did go for all the hard stuff. Wasn't the best idea.
Yeah, but put on a good show.
I got some really good turns, which was nice. I showed off a lot of the very advanced moves. I don't even know if Tyrone does this Shirane bounce before getting up to the turn. He probably does, but I was very happy to get that because I practiced that before leaving any percent because I was like, hey, this is pretty good. No one did that.
Never before seen.
Never before seen time save. Only
exclusive. Only on GSA.
Wow. Wow. Very true. Very powerful. Very brave.
Feels strong, man.
But we will have to wrap things up here as my computer can only stream to 2 accounts for so long. We're going to be heading over to GSA 2 to finish off tonight's festivities. We have a bit of a showcase coming up in about an hour here on the main Speedrun channel, so do check that out if you're so inclined.
Before we get out, could you explain how like the tiebreaker system works? Because assuming that Cade is beaten with wjstie, and I have lost to wjstie. If I beat Cade, then we could have an interesting scenario depending on how Lightron does versus those two. How does that get resolved?
Lightron beat me.
Oh, Lightron already. Okay, so
Yeah.
Essentially, if Lightron beats Cade and I beat Cade, then we're gonna be at 4-0, then 2-2-2-2-2-2, and we've all lost to each other. So would there be like a 3-way tiebreaker?
Yeah, if there's a 3-way tie, it goes to a 3-way tiebreaker.
Ooh, that'll be hype. Okay.
Yes, it is
Stay tuned
hype.
for my match tomorrow versus Cade, everyone.
And I personally think it's better than a point system. I think it's more hype. It also confuses me and the viewers a little bit less, but that's just my opinion. We all have points for the league, so everyone who just loves points and wants to calculate time differences, don't worry. There will be points coming at you sometime in January. But for right now, we are going to go head over to Speedrun 2. Or I might even be there. I mean, you might want to go hang out in Speedrun 2. I don't know. Might be a good idea. But yeah, we'll be right back with Ganon versus Sledge over there. So do stay tuned.
Indeed. Later.